Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Yu Shangrong landed on a tree branch. He hid his aura as he held his longevity sword. Then, he lay down and closed his eyes. He had the intention of ignoring everything that did not affect him. His objective was to guard the quagmire and spend the next 49 days in peace. He lied down and closed his eyes. It did not take long before the procession of cultivators drew close to the quagmire. They came to a halt. Yu Shangrong was puzzled. He opened his eyes slightly. He saw the cultivators through the dense canopy of leaves. The cultivators stood out under the moonlight. They were all wearing purple cloaks, and their heads were covered. Their faces could not clearly be seen. They seemed like a gloomy bunch. It was eerie how they hovered in the air in a long row. The land of buried bones lies ahead. According to the plan, we'll have to control the skeletons of all the dead. Over the centuries, many have been buried in the land of buried bones. The dead of the cities in the area were dumped here as well. They're all given a grand burial ceremony. One of the cultivators flew forward over the quagmire. He looked at the land of buried bones and announced loudly, "Our grand predecessors deserve our respect. Their souls and wills will be passed down after their deaths." Several cultivators flew after him. They saw the skeletons on the land of buried bones. These skeletons were one of the trump cards of the people of Lulan. When Yu Shangrong saw this, he felt slightly relieved. They were clearly here for the skeletons. The land of buried bones was a trump card of the people of Lulan. The higher-ups gathered them in the name of respecting the dead. In truth, they were hoping that they could still defend Lulan in their deaths. Witchcraft was the key to controlling these skeletons. Yu Shangrong retracted his gaze. He ignored them and closed his eyes as he prepared to sleep. At this moment, the purple-robed cultivators flew above the quagmire and formed a circle. "Let's do it." Praise. The purple-robed cultivator in the lead pressed a hand to his chest. Then, he joined his palms and raised them toward the skies. A faint purple light appeared from between his palms. Soon after, a purple beam of light shot toward the land of buried bones. A light circle shone on a skeleton. The skeleton seemed to have been imbued with life as it began to move. Lay the formation. The other purple-robed cultivators stood in their respective positions and raised their palms at the same time. They looked up at the skies, their hoods sliding off their heads. Purple lotuses were branded on their foreheads. The moment they cast their spells, the lotuses shone. Whiz. 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 Primal chi surged. Can, Shu, Bo, Tu, Piao, Mu, Yu, Liang, Xan. They chanted a series of unintelligible incantations as purple gas began to rise from their bodies. They controlled the primal chi in their surroundings. Soon after, purple witchcraft circles appeared under their feet. The sound of gurgling rang in the air as the clear pool of water at the center of the quagmire began to bubble. The purple-robed cultivators were puzzled. "Be careful. There's a living person." As witchcraft cultivators, their senses toward the dead were greater than the ordinary person. Naturally, their senses toward the living were the same. They looked at the clear pool of water in the center of the quagmire and exchanged a look. They stopped what they were doing and looked at the pool of water intently. At this moment, a gentle voice from the nearby forest rang in their ears. "My apologies." The purple-robed cultivators were stunned. They instinctively turned to look at the source of the voice. Under the moonlight, they saw a cultivator dressed in green robes slowly flying out of the forest before stopping in the air above them. Although he was alone, they sensed an unfathomable aura from him. They could tell his composure was born out of spending time with elites and the confidence of surviving on a blade. Yu Shangrong asked lightly, "If it's possible, can you cast your spell elsewhere?" "Why?" The witchcraft cultivator standing at the lead asked, puzzled. Yu Shangrong looked up at the moon and said, don't you find this quiet and peaceful place perfect for resting? I'm sorry, my friend. We're here on orders, and we have to cast our spell here, another cultivator replied. The land of buried bones is vast. It won't have much of an effect if you change locations. Yu Shangrong smiled warmly. I sincerely wish you'll heed my suggestion. A witchcraft cultivator standing at the back said contemptuously, why must we switch locations? Why don't you move to another location instead? There are plenty of other places for you to rest. This is the best place for us to cast our spell. Me, too, Yu Shangrong said curtly. My friend, please leave. Yu Shangrong shook his head lightly. His expression was calm as he said with a sigh, as you wish. You may stay. As Yu Shangrong spoke, his longevity sword spun out of his hand with a whoosh. It split into 2, 4, 8. Countless energy swords appeared in a formation. The sword devil's destiny. No. Defend yourselves. Many cultivators raised their hands at once. A huge purple barrier rose from the witchcraft circle. The sword devil's destiny rained down like hail. Bam. 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 The energy swords easily shattered the witchcraft barrier. The remaining energy swords instantly pierced the chests of several cultivators. More than 10 members out of the more than 50 witchcraft cultivators died instantly. The remaining cultivators wore a frightened expression on their faces as they cast spells after spells. Yu Shangrong raised his right hand. His longevity sword returned to his grasp. He gripped tightly and stepped forward. Stop him. Kill him. Several purple radiant circles appeared and shot toward Yu Shangrong. Yu Shangrong moved at lightning speed as he shot forward and slashed his sword. Countless energy swords parried the incoming purple light circles. Boom. 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 Several cultivators were sent flying. At the same time, before anyone else noticed, energy swords had materialized in the air again and rained down on them, piercing their chests, as they were sent flying back. Thud. 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 Corpses fell down from the sky into the quagmire. In just a blink of an eye, only more than 10 witchcraft cultivators were left out of the more than 50 cultivators. The cultivator in the lead frowned deeply as he waved his sleeves and called out, retreat. The cultivators turned around and fled. Yu Shangrong said calmly, my apologies, but none of you are allowed to leave. It would be bad if these people escaped and spread the word about this incident. Yu Shangrong moved at top speed. The faint red light on his sword flashed brighter than before. Grand technique. There was a flurry of movements as he pierced the chest of one cultivator who was lagging behind. He did stop and continued moving at lightning speed. 5 well-trained witchcraft cultivators turned around and launched purple rings from their palms. Having had the experience of fighting a grand shaman, Yu Shangrong did not allow the purple energy to come close to himself. He immediately swung his longevity sword with great force. Traceless sword. Countless energy swords appeared in the surroundings, sweeping away the purple rings. When they looked up, Yu Shangrong had already arrived in front of them. He spread his arms, the energy swords hovering around them. Swoosh. 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 The energy swords flew out and pierced the cultivators' bodies. A great Yen swordsman? Currently, there was only one surviving witchcraft cultivator. The cultivator ran for some distance. When he saw his comrades were all dead, he stopped. He turned around and faced Yu Shangrong. He knew it was futile to run. Yu Shangrong raised his sword. He shook his head and said, this wasn't what I intended to do, but I have no choice. The leader of the witchcraft cultivators said, are the cultivators of Great Yen so shameless and despicable? You can say whatever you like. Yu Shangrong was not interested in squabbling. The lead witchcraft cultivator began to laugh maniacally before he said, I admit that Great Yen is strong in individual fights, but this time, you've merely killed low-rank witchcraft cultivators. If you kill me, the royal city will surely get to the bottom of this. Even if you run to the ends of the world, they will hunt you down. Is that a threat? Yu Shangrong was amused. The witchcraft cultivator calmed his nerves. He had the impression that the great Yen swordsman was rational and reasonable. He might have a chance to survive if he could explain the benefits and consequences of his actions. There was no need to grovel and beg. You can think of it as a threat. He looked at Yu Shangrong and raised his hand. He showed Yu Shangrong the pattern on his palm. I'm Xian of the Bonner family in Lulan's royal city. If you lay your hands on me, my family will surely get to the bottom of this. Why would you invite such trouble upon yourself, sir? Yu Shangrong nodded slightly and said, Indeed, I don't like troubles. Besides, Lu Lan has always been on good terms with Great Yen. While it's true that there have been some unhappy incidents ever since the dawn of the Lotus Severing era, this doesn't affect the relationship between our countries. It's said that the Nether Sect is wreaking havoc in Great Yen and that the divine capital has fallen. I do feel sorry for that, the shaman, Xian, said. Alas, they're already dead. Yu Shangrong glanced at the corpses strewn on the ground below. Xian shook his head and said, I'll talk to the higher-ups. Naturally, everything depends on how you act. Yu Shangrong nodded again. He stepped forward. The moonlight fell on the side of his face, highlighting his cold expression. My stance has never changed since the very beginning. Very good. I like people like you who adapt to the times. We'll meet again. Xian turned around. As soon as he turned around, a dark and vicious expression appeared on his face. Swoosh. 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 All of a sudden, Xian heard the sound of energy swords whistling in the air ringing behind him. His eyes widened in shock and anger as he cursed, You. A sneak attack. Countless energy swords merged into one in the air. They formed a long dragon that shot toward Xian. Xian cried out and Xian struck with both palms, erecting a purple barrier around himself. Purple circles appeared around him like hula hoops. Yu Shangrong did not even deign to look at Xian. He turned around indifferently as his energy sword moved at lightning speed. Bang! The energy sword pierced Xian's chest. The longevity sword circled in the air once before flying back into the scabbard on Yu Shangrong's back. Xian, who was holding onto his sword, plunged down into the forest below. Yu Shangrong's movements were as smooth as flowing water. He did not fumble, always calm and composed. Xian, on the other hand, was wide-eyed. He looked at the silent forest, at the starry skies, at the moon, at the quagmire, and at the scattered corpses of his comrades. He could keenly feel his life leaking out from his body. He did not even register the pain as he plummeted to the ground. Yu Shangrong returned to the branch and lay down, considering his next move. Those witchcraft cultivators had shown up at the land of buried bones, of all places. Clearly, they had a mission. Now that they had all been killed by him, nobody would be reporting back. This would certainly draw attention. Lu Lan would certainly organize a search party. It was not difficult to locate this place. In that case, what should he do next? Yu Shangrong hated troubles the most. He opened his eyes and looked at the pool of water. He said with a sigh, if this were the past, I would never be bogged down by this problem. After saying that, he closed his eyes again and went back to sleep. When he received the series of notifications, Lu Zhou thought that a battle had broken out in Liang province. However, after further considerations, he thought there would be more notifications if the Rulians had attacked. Although the points were not high, they could not be considered as little. Lu Zhou asked someone to send a letter to Liang province. Soon enough, Wuya sent a reply saying everything was peaceful and quiet in Liang province. He reassured that there would not be a problem with him holding the fort. Looks like they're killed by Yu Shangrong. After mulling over it, Lu Zhou told Old Eighth to contact Wuya and have his sources in Lu Lan assist Yu Shangrong from the sides. He would have to pay a visit to Lu Lan sooner or later. According to Lu Ge, Ji Tiandao's memory crystal was most probably related to Lu Lan's royals. In the afternoon, Duanmu Sheng hurried into Dajing Palace. Your orders, master? Lu Zhou glanced at Duanmu Sheng. Confused, he asked, where's Old Eighth? Duanmu Sheng replied, Old Eighth has been working hard these few days. He's cooped up in his room practicing his breathing. I can handle his tasks for him. Zhou nodded and said, very well. Send word to see Wuya. Tell him to think of some way to assist Yuan'er. Yes, master. Duanmu turned around and left. Meanwhile, inside a certain room in Zhenghai Palace. Ouch. Softer, will you? Zhu Honggong cried out as he lay on the bed. My son, did old villain Ji beat you again? See? You should have left with me. Why are you staying here? You're only suffering. Ever since Zhu Tianyuan entered the palace, he had been following Zhu Honggong around like a bum beetle. Don't insult my master. This was third senior brother's doing. In that case, he should take responsibility for his actions. I won't say anything if it was your master who hit you, but how can your senior brother be this domineering, beating people up as he pleases? At this moment, the door creaked as Duanmu entered the room. He held his overlord's spear in his left hand and a vial of liniment in his right. He said, Old Eighth, here's something for you. Zhu Tianyuan turned to look at Duanmu muscular body. Each of Duanmu movements radiated terrifying power. He asked in confusion, you are? Duanmu Sheng. Zhu Honggong's third senior brother, Duanmu replied. Zhu Tianyuan was taken aback. He hastily said, oh, it's you, Evil Sky Pavilion's Mr. Third. My son can be stubborn sometimes. I hope that you can look after him as his senior brother in the future. If he does anything wrong in the future, you can just hit him. Don't hold back because of me. Zhu Honggong. Duanmu had already heard about Zhu Honggong's matters. Hence, he cupped his fists and said, Uncle, this is nothing. I won't hold anything against my junior brother. To have a reasonable and magnanimous senior brother like you must be Zhu Honggong's reward after 8 lifetimes of hard work. Don't mention it. Apply this liniment 3 times a day. He'll be healed in 3 days. I have something else to attend to. Mr. Third. Zhu Honggong. 7 days later. In the morning. Across the quagmire, Yuan'er flew out of the forest as he usually would. He observed the changes in the bubbles and sensed the situation under the surface. Compared to 7 days ago, he could clearly sense the aura of life now. This meant Zhenghai was another step closer to being resurrected. After observing this, Yuan'er drew his longevity sword and practiced his swordplay. He saw Ji Liang looking for food in the nearby mountains and smiled. Soon after, he saw 3 purple-clad cultivators flying toward Ji Liang. Ji Liang was alert. When it sensed people approaching, it immediately returned and hid among the trees in the forest behind Yuan'er. The 3 purple-clad cultivators flew over as well. When they saw Yuan'er hovering in the air, they bowed and greeted him. There's someone here. My friend, have you seen our comrades? They wear the same clothes we do, the purple-clad cultivator standing in front asked. Yuan'er was honest. He pointed at the corpses near the quagmire, among the weeds and the trees of the forest, as he said, you mean, them? The 3 purple-clad cultivators looked down. They were greeted by the sight of corpses. They were shocked and quickly descended. They flew around and began to gather corpses using witchcraft. An incredulous expression appeared on their faces after they counted the number of corpses. The leader of the 3 purple-clad cultivators asked, my friend, did you see the murderer? Yuan'er smiled. I see that they're your comrades. I'm sorry for their deaths. As for the murderer, he must have gone to the royal city. Thank you, my friend. The purple-robed cultivator raised his hand. A purple witchcraft net wrapped around the bodies and lifted them up. He said, let's report back. Quickly. Understood. The 3 cultivators left the land of buried bones with the corpses. Yuan'er looked in the direction of the quagmire. He shook his head and said, if it weren't for you, I would never stoop so low and lie. Then, he smiled and added, however, one must do a few dumb things throughout his life. After saying this, he flew into the forest. Night fell. The bubbles on the surface of the pool of clear water grew larger and larger. The gurgling sounds turned louder and louder as well. When midnight arrived, it had become rather noisy. Yu Shangrong flew out of the forest and inspected the quagmire. He said, "You might be dead, but your temper is still something to reckon with." He returned to the forest. Fortunately, nobody else came close to the quagmire over the next 5 days. Everything proceeded smoothly. 22 more days to go. Yu Shangrong would scratch a mark on the tree trunk with his longevity sword to mark the passing days. At this time, the gurgling sounds were much louder than before. Yu Shangrong looked at the skies through the canopy. He glanced at the quagmire. The pool of clear water was still bubbling. With so much activity, it would be troublesome if someone were to come. Yu Shangrong spent 10 peaceful days before the pool of water finally stopped bubbling.